Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I was a proper YouTuber, I'd have an introduction here, but I'm not, so I don't. Which really brings us to the meat of the issue here already. We have a unique situation in our hobby that, because we're so small, I mean, we're an international community, internationally recognized hobby, but yet we're still so small that it's easy to become, I guess, a celebrity, to become famous, YouTube famous or whatever. And it really kind of provides its own set of, cool, good things and kind of its own issues at the same time. And I'm guilty of, when I first got into the hobby, then yeah, there's these YouTube people, and it's like, wow, they're on YouTube, and I'm like watching on the computer and stuff, and wow, that person must be famous. Sure, be cool to meet them sometime. Wow, so and so responded to my comment. But at the same time, they're just people, and it's it's interesting. Like I said, to and I'm not by no means trying to like downplay the amount of talent we have in this hobby. It's just the way it's perceived, I think, is a bit unhealthy. I don't know. It creates its own issues. I think, kind of its own a disconnect. I think, and I don't know. I never had intentions when I got into the hobby. I had no intentions of ever doing the YouTube thing or even really being known at all. The YouTube thing kind of came along just because I wanted to be able to share my information, share what I've learned, what I've experienced. And it was just kind of the easiest way because I'm not good at like putting words together on paper and stuff, so I didn't think any kind of like articles or how-tos or anything would have been really as useful as being able to just show what I'm doing. But I went for the first like 2 years of my involvement in the hobby just lurking everywhere. As far as I never really signed on anywhere. I didn't really have an Instagram or anything like actual account set up. I just look at everybody else's stuff and say, wow, that's really neat. Maybe I'll do that someday. And it wasn't until until I got, what was it? I think it was the Merch Masters competition. I finally decided, I'm gonna stick my foot into the community and start sharing what I have to offer, or what I've learned and what I think about. And it's what's really one of the greatest things I've done as far as like personally for my growth as a person, not just within the hobby, but as just generally speaking. But I never set out and was like, I'm gonna be a mover and shaker. I'm gonna rock the boat. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna become well known. And it's which I guess if you set out, if that is your goal, then that's good for you. I guess it's kind of weird, but no, it's interesting that, like I said, I had no intention of becoming known, but here I am, and I'm still a very small channel, I'm still not like a household name, and I can, I'm cool with that. I'm actually very cool with that. I have no intentions of becoming bigger, but I'm still lumped in with celebrities. I guess I'd never, when I got into the hobby, I never thought, oh, hey, maybe I'll just be able to talk to Bobo Lolo like it's no big deal, or maybe I'll, go to events and rub shoulders with the captains of industry within our hobby, and be actual friends with people in other states and other countries, and people who are creating things and who are producers. And and but that's because our community is so small. I mean, so many of us get together and for now multiple events per year. Can you just give me a minute, please? We'll play in a minute. And I think so many, I don't know, so often, because we are so far apart, you do see people only through posts on media or on YouTube and stuff like that, and so they're not really a person. They're just this weird entity out here who's creating wonderful things. But I guess it was interesting when I went to End War, and this was really the first time. Well, I guess technically, my first experience with a celebrity meeting was what 2 years ago. My wife and I spent spring break in Washington, or just Washington area, and I got a hold of Walcom and was like, "Hey, we're in the area. Mind if I just swing by and say hi, or something? Or it'd be cool to meet you, or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, cool." And so he sent me his address, and I remember drove to his house, and I pulled up in the driveway, and he had the garage door open, and he's just kind of parked there at the bench, and it's just a disaster of a workbench, just crap piled up everywhere and pieces of projects everywhere. And I walked up, and he just kind of got up, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" or whatever, and shook hands. And I just realized he's just some dude in his garage, just like me. I'm just some dude in the garage tinkering with stuff. We got blasters sitting on shelves and in boxes and stuff everywhere. It was an amazing experience being able to throw ideas around with him and talk about stuff and talk about projects and just discuss all kinds of cool stuff. Because he is an incredibly talented guy and has a weird brain and has really cool ideas in there. And so it was cool to be able to, I guess, soundboard a little bit on things. An amazing experience. But the coolest thing was that he seemed as excited to meet me as I was to meet him. And I was still nobody. Because there's a certain level where, as a creator to a creator, there's no like celebrity status thing. It's just people who are making cool things. And, going home after that experience, I realized that's all we are. We're just people building stuff. I mean, there again, not downplaying, we have amazingly, amazingly talented people in this hobby. But we're all just people. Amazingly talented people. But just people doing our thing, just doing stuff that makes us happy. And that was really cool. That was really, I don't know, it really helped me reset the way I viewed things. And then going to End War, where you just have a room full of people, and it's all just like, "Oh, hey, so-and-so," and it's just like, it's no big deal. You're still super excited to see them, super excited to see all the cool stuff that they have laid out, that they're working with, or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're just people. There's so many people who are like, especially End War and then Ragnarok, that are smaller names, or people who don't have names at all as far as the community, that I've communicated with through the media and stuff like that. And I've been super excited to meet some of those, because they are crazily, just madly talented people, to where they're like, "Hey, there's one dude, I can't remember, who I met at FoamCon, that I was super excited to see, because he was going to be bringing, I can't remember what blaster it was, but I was excited to see it. And so he's like, "Wow, hey, it's you." And I'm like, "That's really cool. You're an amazingly talented person. I like to see what you're building," and stuff like that. And so it's, so often there's the perception of a disconnect because of the perception of fame. And it's interesting that I remember it was in, I think it was in one of the Discords, that people were posting stuff, and I think I posted something that I had been working on, and then somebody else posted something they were working on. And it was interesting that what I had posted was downplayed because, well, he's a YouTuber, so it's different. And I thought, but I'm just a guy working in the garage building stuff. It was just interesting that on one hand you have people who say, "Oh, you're this famous celebrity. I'm gonna just air quote the crap out of that all the time, because I hate the word. That, "Oh, you're this celebrity and stuff. That's really cool. We're gonna put you on this pedestal and treat you really cool, and like you're some kind of godlike personage." And on the other hand, you have people who are like, "Well, you're different. You're not like us. You're on this other, you're over there doing your YouTube famous thing or whatever. We're the real people, and down here in the trenches doing the real thing." And it's like, we're all just people having a good time, building cool stuff. You're gonna try this side now? It's not gonna help. And I think it's unfortunate is what it is. It's cool, and I admit sometimes I get caught up in the celebrityism or whatever, that, like you go to an event and people are excited to see you. That does bolster one's confidence. I mean, as a guy with relatively low self-esteem and horrible, like, social skills, it's cool to have people be excited to meet you. But I'm just a guy, like, it's funny, like, my wife came to Ragnarok with me, and so we were sitting in the meet and greet, and there's people that are coming up and they're like, "Oh, hey, that's cool, it's so cool to meet you and stuff," and she's like, "I see you every day, I mean, you're not that cool." And I'm like, some people think I'm cool, and so it's just kind of interesting that I guess a prophet's never accepted in his own land, so to speak, but that basically it's nothing special. I mean, yeah, I built some cool stuff and it makes people happy, which is nice, and it's nice to be able to share information. But the celebrity status, I think, is it's misplaced, is what it is. I think people do think it. I mean, we do look up to each other. I mean, there's other creators in this hobby that I look up to who have great ideas and are the crazily talented people that I look up to and say, wow, it's really cool to be able to throw ideas at you and to be on a friend basis with you because you're really talented and it's a really cool experience. But at the same time, we're just people. We're just people building cool stuff. But I think also at the same time, it's good for people to start off in this hobby and have people to aspire to be like, or to say, wow, so and so's, I guess it's the exposure. I guess I mean the more famous we get and more exposure we get as a hobby in general, the more people we can bring into the hobby and share the joy of Nerf and the weird hobby that it is. So I'm not going to downplay the exposure because that's great. I think the problem lies in how we separate each other from the from, I guess, the different tiers. I hate to use the word tiers too, but that you have like the noob, and then you have the the YouTuber, whatever, and it's like, stop, just don't. Look up to people, be proud of people, but don't get so caught up in the fame or the celebrityness of it. The whole stigma, I guess the YouTube stigma that just, because like I said, it's for good and bad. Some people value it too highly, and some people use it as some kind of disconnect. And I think if we get beyond that and realize that when you wake up, Saturday morning, and you've got, like this morning, I woke up and I was like, Jingler's gonna have Nerf news. I'm excited to see that. It's cool because it's like, hey, this is this friend of mine who's producing this very high production quality informative program. That's really cool. Some of my favorite TV shows are people that I know personally. That's really cool, Nerf stuff. But at the same time, I don't see that as like movie star. Hey, it's good to be excited to see YouTube people, because it's cool. They are very talented people, but they're people, just people. And I guess the important thing is to keep everything in perspective. I mean, at the end of the day, even if you are trying to crank up the whole like, I'm YouTube famous or whatever, we're playing with kids' toys. At the end of the day, you can only take it so seriously. Which is the beautiful part about the hobby, is that you can't take it too seriously. Now, if you're taking it too seriously, you're probably doing it wrong. But it's just, I think it is a matter of perspective, and I think we all need to keep things in perspective. Those who may be getting a large head because of exposure need to remember it's just a silly little hobby. Those who are looking up to their YouTube gods, so to speak, stop. Just don't. Just don't. Just... Because we are all noobs when we got here, and a lot of us are still noobish to some degree, but just... I think it's perspective. Especially, this is, almost next week's Christmas? Whew, wow. Yeah, gotta do some shopping. We're gonna have a huge influx of new players and new interest in the hobby, because you're going to have 8-year-old Jimmy over here is going to get a Nerf gun for Christmas, and he's going to say, wow, Nerf stuff, that's really cool, and he's going to get on YouTube and he's going to see like Drac videos everywhere, and he's going to be like, hey, you can modify things too. He's going to do more research. He's going to find out we have this really cool hobby, and he's going to start in here. He needs to know, if you're watching right now at Christmas time, if you happen to stumble upon this video and you're investigating the Nerf hobby, don't get caught up in the stigma either way. If you had just pricked up, if you got a Disruptor or Strong Arm, whatever it is, the entry-level pistol, and you're like, hey, Nerf can be fun. That's the important part. It's fun, regardless of the level you're at. And don't get caught up in the fact that there is people on YouTube and people with their own websites, and there's people producing parts, machining parts, casting parts, people with contacts in China who are designing parts, people who are printing their own stuff. We're all just people having a good time in our hobby. We're doing what makes us happy and helping others be happy. And that's the important thing. That is, I think, the basis and the foundation of this hobby, is doing fun things that make other people happy that you enjoy as well. And we all share. And I think that's, like I said, the basis, the foundation, the soul of the Nerf community. Wherever it is, whether it's the community online, whether it is your local community, whether it's a regional community. That's what brings us together. And I think that's what can maintain the strength of that foundation. If we take and we put too many people on pedestals, you create that divide, you create that separation where, you have it's just not good. It's not good. We're all in this together. We're all having a good time. So let me know your thoughts. I mean, would you consider yourself to be famous? Would you consider yourself to be the noob who looks up to famous people? Famous. Go ahead and leave your comments, and let's, I think it's a good discussion to have, especially, like I said, with so much new blood gonna come into the hobby in the next couple months, probably, to maintain that perspective on kind of where we actually are as a community, and what can we do to maintain the dignity of the community and stuff. So it's a good conversation, I think. A good one to have. So yeah, go ahead and leave comments below, and even bring it up in the groups. Am I entirely wrong? So be it. I don't know, but that's where I stand. So I suppose that's a topic for an entirely separate video. But let's do what we can. Like I said, this is the end of the year. In this new year, let's make for a better community and see what we can do there. And have a great day, wherever you are. Okay. Come on. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. And get out of my house.